Hello everybody, welcome to the second tutorial in the series, the basics of programming in Python. Today we're going to be talking about variables, printing and operations with Python. So before we go ahead, I just want to talk about what I talked about in the last video, installing Python. So you don't have to install Python 3.9.1, just make sure you install the stable version of Python. Okay, so let's continue. So we are going to be using the Python IDLE. You can just search for it, Python IDLE, or you might see it in your recently installed if you just installed it, well, depending on the Windows you use. Okay, so just make sure you search for it, the Python IDLE, and when you launch it, you should see something like this. So this is just like the command prompt where you can type commands and then get your answers immediately. But we're not going to be using this. We're going to be creating a new file, and then we'll save it down here. Save it in the desktop tutorial, and then we save with beg1.py. So this is how you save a Python file with .py. That is the file extension for a Python file. So beginners1.py, then we save it. Okay, so we have our file saved. So now let's move ahead into what variables are. But before we continue, I'm sure for those who watched my last video, you must have noticed an improvement in audio quality, which was definitely something I had to invest in. Okay, so now you should be able to hear me clearly and well. So if you have any feedback on my audio, make sure you drop a comment down below in the comment section. Okay, so now what are variables? Variables are just references to a value, a placeholder for a value. For example, imagine you had 5 cartons in front of you and you had a robot beside you and you wanted the robot to get you a particular carton. So there are various ways you can identify a carton, either with the color, the shape, whatever way. But there must be a particular thing you use to reference carton. So that is where variables come in. So you can either say ape robot, get me the carton, the red carton, get me the carton with age inscribed on it, so and so on and so forth, for example. So that's how variables work. So we are going to create a variable just like we have in math, x equals to 5. We're not going to be using that. Just wanted to make you know we have something like that. So that's how you create variables. You type the name and then, so we're going to be using age instead, and we're going to call it 17. Okay, so we'll save that, and then we're going to try printing it. For those who watched my last video, must have seen me print hello world. So it's similar, but this time around we're going to be printing age. So what Python does here is it looks for age in your system's memory and then checks for the value and then places the value in here and prints out the value. So now make sure you save it and then you press F5 to run, or you can just come here to run the file. So as you can see, it prints 17 out. So that's how variables works. So you can also change the value. So once you change it here, it should change when you run it as well, 15. So the same applies. So whatever I call or any other variable and whatever I call it. For example, if I change this to a new and I change this to new, of course I have to change that to new, or else it's going to give me an error that the variable doesn't exist. So we'll save that and then we're going to run it. Then you can see new is 15. You can change to 120. So then we're going to run it. As you can see, 120. So that's how variables work. They're just references to a value. So they're references to values. So now let's talk about the restrictions to variable. Definitely you can't create a variable with anything. For example, you can't start a variable with a number. You can't input variables, special symbols in between, at the beginning or at the right of variables. For example, this $sign, you can't put it anywhere in a variable name. There's going to be an error. So let's try that. $new, and then you save that, then we run. You can see we have something called an invalid syntax, which means you can't do this basically. So I'm gonna remove that. You can also start a variable with a number. You run it, and then but you can put a number in between or at the end of a variable. So let's put that a new one. You save that, and then let's change this so we don't get an error. You save as well, then run. As you can see, we have our 120. So basically what he's saying is you cannot only start a variable with a letter or an underscore as well. So you can start with an underscore. You can start with underscore new 1. You have to add underscore here as well. Then when you save and then you run, you should get your value. So you can only start variables with letters and underscores. So you can't start with numbers and other characters. For example, if I try putting a character here, like the minus character, is going to give me an error. So let's see that. Let's save and then we run. As you can see, we have an error. So let's put something practical here. We'll change this to age, and then change this to age as well. So let's try adding age times and see what will happen. So Python, we save that and then we run. So it's same error. So we basically, as I said earlier, you can only start a variable with an underscore letter, and you can add some special characters like your operators, your minus, times, division, and some other special symbols like the dollar sign, as I've showed you. Okay, so that is it about variables. You can create multiple variables. For example, let's try something trivial here. Let's try 140 and then age equals to 20. So let's print this 3 times separately, age, print age. Okay, so you are guessing, you're wondering if these are not the same thing. That is not the same thing, or what's going on? Well, actually, let's see what the result is. So when you print that, we get different values. And bring this over here. Okay, so in print that, we get different values. The first one is for this 120 age, the second one for this 140, and the third one for this 120. So in Python, capital letters, block letters means a lot. So for example, this age is all small letters, and this starts with a capital letter, so we block letters, which is the same thing, which means Python sees this as different things. So you need to be careful with the cases you use. Okay, so that's basically all you need to know about variables now. So let's move on into printing, as you might have seen here. So when it comes to printing, as you've seen, you can print one and you can also print multiple things, but I'm not going to be doing that now, just in case you are beginners and I don't want to get you confused. So now moving to operations with Python. So when you talk about operations, you're talking about your minus, your division, your subtraction, your division, and every other thing. So I'm going to print a series of things here divided by 3. So the lines you can see between that is just to make it look neat and clear. So put 4 times 4 here. No, we're not going to be using that 5 times. That's not I meant to type, but that's also correct, but that was not what I meant to type. Okay, so we're going to be printing what else? Okay, minus print. So don't worry, I'm going to explain all of this in a bit. And finally, what we call the modular operator. Okay, so now let's talk about the first one. So when it comes to the first, this is plus, so you probably know the answers already. So when you run this, you will get a 4 for the answer. When you run this should give us a 3. Of course, if you run this should give us 16, and so on and so on. But if you look at this and this, you probably don't know what's going on if you are new to programming, or you're having an encounter something like this. So when it comes to in most cases programming, you use this for multiplications, which means this is wrong. This will give us an error if you should try running it right now. So let's try running it, save and error. As you can see, okay, so if you have to clean these numbers up, you can't just leave things glitching around in a Python file. Sorry for that, I just wanted to show you something. Okay, oh my, I can't just type anymore again. Okay, so let's try running it. As you can see, it highlights it as an error, which means this doesn't exist. So when you want to multiply in Python, this is what you use for multiplication. Okay, so we're gonna delete that line, and then this are the operators you need to know. You should know. Okay, so let's try running the file with F5, and then you can see we get answer. So let me explain this one after the other. So as you know, this is plus 2 plus 2 should give us a 4. 6 divided by 3. This is what you use for division in Python. 6 divided by 3. This is what you use for division in Python. So you get 2.0. 4 times 4, you get 16. 6 minus 3, you get 3. 4, this is called floor division. So 4 floor division 3. What do we get? Surprisingly 1. But let's try it with the number division. So let's print 4 divided by 3. So we're just going to clean these ones up here, since I assume you understand it. So any questions about it, make sure you drop your questions down in the comment section and I will attend to them. Okay, so let's see what the result is going to be. We're going to save that and then we're going to run. As you can see, 4 floor division gives us 1, and why this gives us what we expected. So what happens here is this floor division gives us a whole number, so it removes every point after it. Even if we have a number higher than 4, as we know in maths it's supposed to round it up, but it doesn't. It's just going to give you the whole number in front. It's not going to round anything up. So let me show you an example. Let's try 3 for division 2 and 3 divided by 2. I think this should give us 1.5 if I'm not wrong. We're going to save that. Okay, so we have 1.5, but here as you can see it didn't round it up, it just gave us the whole number 1. So that's it when it comes to floor division and division. Division gives you what you expect, but floor division just gives you a whole number. Now last let's talk about the modulo operator. Okay, let me cancel this. Okay, modulo operator. So what this does is, as you might have seen, we're going to save that and run it so you can see it. Gives us 1. But why does it give us 1? This is confusing, and it might be confusing for you if you are new to programming as well. Okay, so now let me explain this. So what this does is it divides and then basically it gives us the remainder. So whatever remains from this operation is what we get. For example, as you can see, 9 divided by 4 goes twice, remainder 1. So the remainder is what we get. So let's try 8 divided by modulo 6. Sorry, so it's 6. We only have 6, only get 6 in 8 once, and then remainder 2. So when we save that and run it, we should get 2. So that's it. This just gives us remainder. That's what it is. It gives us remainder from a division operation. Okay, so that's it for variables printing operation in Python. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it thumbs up, and if you didn't, make sure you also give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Have a nice time.